Alright folks, in this short video we will be looking at one of the dangers to the rainforest, which happens to be pollution. We'll be looking at the different kinds of pollution that are found throughout the world. In this video we will be discussing and learning about the different dangers that our rainforests face. In this video, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be learning about pollution and the different kinds of pollution, because there are more than one way to pollute our planet. Alright, first off, deforestation. We'll get into it in the next video, but we will also look at how deforestation affects the rainforest and how it hurts the environment or affects the environment. Alright, let's begin with pollution. Now, the definition of pollution is the damage to the natural environment caused by harmful substances. So there are many different ways to pollute our planet, and that's what we're going to look at in this video. Alright, so there are many different forms of this. So the first one, we have air pollution, we have water pollution, we have soil pollution, noise pollution, light pollution, and thermal pollution. Now I know you're probably thinking, there's noise and light pollution. What are those two things? How does that affect the rainforest? And we're going to get into that. But just know those are the main ones that we will be focusing on in this video. Alright, our first one that we will talk about is air pollution. Now, air pollution is contamination of the atmosphere that changes the air. So if there's anything that goes into the air that changes the breathability of the air, then it would be considered air pollution. Now, the most common ones tend to be vehicles or even factory fumes. But every now and then you do have, for example, forest fires, volcanic eruptions, and when they demolish buildings, all that huge cloud of smoke can also create air pollution. Now, some really bad examples of air pollution can be, for example, Beijing, China, which is this one on the left. Their air quality can get so bad sometimes that they actually have to wear medical masks or face masks just to be able to breathe the air in so that it doesn't harm their lungs. Or you have Mexico City, which is the one on the left, and you can kind of see that it's very hazy, very foggy, but a lot of that's just the air pollution. And that's just because the city is so large. The next one we'll talk about is water pollution. Water pollution is any contaminated water due to chemicals, bacteria, or anything that changes water quality. So the most common thing is dumping chemicals or dumping things into water supplies, or organic material decay, so things that have been laying in the water and essentially are starting to rot or go bad. So you can see many different examples of it. One's over here on the right. You can see the water is just really disgusting. The one on the right, once again, another example of what water pollution may look like. Now, some examples of very polluted rivers. You have the Ganges, which is the one on the right. And this one is a very good example of what not to do to a river, because as you can see in the picture, it is very, very polluted, very yucky, very gross. And then you have this next river, which happens to be in China. It was polluted to the point where it changed the color, kind of like an orange reddish tint. So those are all examples, extreme examples of water pollution. Let's move on. Alright, the next one we'll have is soil pollution. Now, soil pollution is pollution that prevents natural growth in anything that prevents the growing of wildlife. So, the more common examples we have are littering. We're more familiar with this one, littering. You do have sewage spills, and soil pollution could also be classified as deforestation, which I said before earlier today, that we will look at deforestation in the next video. Now the other one, now these next ones we're going to get into, these are not as common, or they're not as well known, but when you think about it, it does make a little bit of sense. So noise pollution is unwanted noise levels that are caused by human activity. Noise pollution can actually cause animals to stop showing up in a specific location. Some examples are traffic, airports, railroads, manufacturing plants, and construction sites. Just because a lot of the noise that they make, they're very noisy locations, animals are not going to want to come around them. Next one is thermal pollution. Thermal, we're looking at heat. So thermal pollution is excess heat that creates unwanted effects over a long period of time. Because of this excess heat, many people believe that this is actually what is leading to global warming. Now, this then inevitably leads us to what is known as the greenhouse effect. Now, the greenhouse effect is caused by a variety of different things. First off, the emissions from cars, factories, and things like that tends to create kind of a cloud around the Earth. And you can kind of see it's highlighted in orange, but I'm just outlining it. But what happens is the sun gives off radiation. Now, some of you know that radiation is good for you and bad for you, depending on how much you get. Well, because of the sun, it gives off heat. What happens is that cloud that we just kind of highlighted, what that does, it kind of creates like a blanket over the planet. So when the sun's rays come, ideally, what we want to happen, they'll hit the Earth and then they'll bounce back out into space, like it is right here. However, due to this blanket covering the Earth, one thing we're starting to see is that so that when it hits Earth, instead of bouncing back into space, it's hitting that blanket or that bubble, and it's bouncing back into Earth. And as you can see, as it bounces back into Earth, all that does is keep that heat onto the Earth, which then makes the planet hotter. Now, there are some people who will agree or disagree that this is. Now, this has led to believe some people believe that because our planet is getting warmer, this is actually leading and causing stronger storms such as hurricanes and tornadoes. Just because the oceans are warmer, the atmosphere is warmer, and that just makes for good hurricane and tornado weather. Now, some scientists do believe that our planet has gotten warmer by at least 1.4 degrees. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but it is a major concern because history has shown that small increases or decreases in temperature can really hurt an environment. One of the major problems we're dealing with today is that the polar ice caps are melting, and most major world cities are found along the coast. And because of that, and because our ice caps are made out of ice, when they melt, they create water. One concern will be is that in the future, a lot of our coastal cities may experience some type of flooding, or we're going to lose territories to the rising ocean waters. Below, as you can see, I have a picture where it talks about the Arctic sea ice. On the left, it's is a picture or a diagram comparing in 1984 the amount of ice the polar ice caps had. Fast forward to 2012, and you can see that the ice has considerably shrunken. You've probably seen or heard in the news a lot of major concerns that a lot of people are having towards this issue because it is affecting the environment there and so forth. Now, to conclude the video, let's kind of recap or review some of the things that we've talked about. First, we talked about the different kinds of pollution. Different kinds of pollution. We talked about air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, thermal pollution, and noise pollution. And we concluded by talking a little bit more about greenhouse gases, and global warming. Like always, make sure we answer the questions that I have attached to this video, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. See ya!